Yo, what's up? This your boy Derek Branch here of Saints Discussions on Strike 7 Sports. In today's video, I just want to quickly recap the week that was for your New Orleans Saints as they prepare for their Week 1 season opener against the Tennessee Titans, a team that they are very familiar with over the last couple of years. They played them in 2019 and they played them again in 2021. Right now, as the past 2 years, past couple of seasons, the series between the two teams is tied 1-1. Saints won in 2019, and the Titans won in 2021. So, perhaps like the third meeting that has taken place is part of the Saints tour against the AFC South this season. So, look forward to seeing how that plays out. But that's it, that game right now, man. I hope maybe a change going into next week, but it's not a lot of buzz building around that game because I think that both of those teams can make the playoffs this season, Titans and the Saints. So let's see how that plays out. But regards to the New Orleans Saints, it was a week full of transactions. Play in regards to more particularly with player movement. They trimmed down to the 53-man roster, which is required by the NFL, and there are a lot of surprise cuts and players coming back and some players not coming back, some players signing with other teams or to that practice squad and things like that, and injuries and players not gonna be here. For the maybe not playing for season up. We're gonna get a little bit into that later in the video, but I'm gonna start things off by talking about the practice squad. And I believe like 16 players got added to the roster, to the practice squad roster. Now, mind you, that these are the same players that got released on the August 29th, which was the mandatory day you had to trim your roster down from 90 personnel, I believe, to 53, the required 53-man roster. And the Saints most notably brought these guys back. They were all released by the team, but they were brought back on the practice squad. You got Jonathan Abraham, Jalen Smith, Ryan Connolly, Shaq Davis, Mark Evans, Jontre Kirkland, the former LSU Tiger, Tommy Kramer, Storm Norton, Ellis Merriweather, Ty Summers, Anthony Araji, to name a few. Now, these players that I name on this list, a lot of these guys were, these were the players that you was hearing a lot about during training camp, during the sessions, the different drills and things like that, and also during the actual games. A lot of these players show flashes of what they can do, show that potential in those training camp, not in those preseason games whenever they presented the opportunity to. And people were kind of taken back by, kind of upset by when they released Jalen Smith, and I kind of knew he was coming back, man. I know it was just like probably did this because of procedures, maybe salary cap situation, things like that. We don't know, but they're bringing him back to the practice squad, and he's most likely gonna get activated to the 53-man roster with that opening coming up soon. So I'm glad that Jalen Smith is coming back to the team because I think he could. There's a chance he starts, and I believe that he is the third best linebacker on the team, man, hands down, way better than Zach Bond, and that's a role for Zach Bond, man, on the team right now. It's not the role that people want him to be in, which is he's on special teams right now. Maybe that changes. Maybe they put Jalen Smith in that role, that Caden Ellis role. We're not sure yet, but he's really good at being on special teams for the Saints. But I think Jalen Smith will end up taking that position soon, But we'll see how it play out. Ellis Merriweather showed a lot of flashes during training camp. They released him, brought him back. He's on the practice squad. We got Shaq Davis, who has a lot of upside, the wide receiver out of South Carolina State. Jontre Kirkland, out of former LSU Tiger. Those are like really good players. I think they could be really good players for this team. Really, solid contributors for this team. Maybe not the number one guy, the number one option to throw the football to, but good, nice, complementary pieces, man. If they ready to go, what I'm saying, if they get called upon to fill the role. But the chances, to me, man, I think the chances are high that a couple of these guys not named Jalen Smith's going to be inserted to the 53-man roster at some point in the season. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Shaq Davis, or John Trey Kirkland, Ryan Connolly. I heard a lot of good things about Ryan Connolly, but he has suffered an injury that's things going to sideline him for a significant amount of time. Jonathan Abram might see some action. We don't know yet. Marcus May hasn't really announced. The league hasn't announced a suspension of how many games he will be suspended yet for what occurred during his time with the New York Jets. So something to look out for as well. So I think this is a nice group of players on the practice squad that they have right here, man. A solid group of players, and you gotta just give the scouting department their credit. They know how to find these type of players on your team. They stash them away and things like that. Lucas Kroll was released, and guess where he went? The Denver Broncos. Sean Payton. Sean Payton has been poaching all the Saints cast-offs, man. Poaching all of the Saints cast-offs. Tony Jones Jr. was up there at one point. I believe he got released. He's with the Saints now. So we'll see how that play out, man. But Sean Payton is pretty much building his version of the New Orleans Saints up in the Rockies with the Denver Broncos. All right. Next news update is Traquan Smith. He made the final 53-man roster, but he will be sidelined for the opener against the Tennessee Titans with a groin injury. Based on the report I read from WWL.com, is that Traquan Smith suffered that injury on August the 5th during training camp, and he went to surgery to get the injury corrected, to recover from it and all that, and he will be sidelined. And maybe they're probably going to put him on IR, most likely. They're going to put him on IR, and that's going to open up a spot. And that's how Jalen Smith's going to be on the 53-man roster. You know what I'm saying? And based on what I read in that report as well, is that it's the third straight season opener that Traquan Smith has missed. And that is true. Last year he was out, I believe, the year prior to that when Drew was first gone. Drew Brees, the first year of the post Drew Brees era. He was there. A lot of people expected big things out of him that year, but he was missing an action for that game because of an injury. So Traquan Smith out. And a lot of people kind of surprised, were kind of upset that Traquan Smith made the roster, but they like him. They see value in having him on his team. And I believe I heard it from Steve Geller or of WWL, Bobby Hebert, if I'm not mistaken. They were saying that Traquan Smith had pretty much built up this, mentor type of role with the team, with that wide receiver group. Like he had became like a coach, another coach on the field, like a coach on the field with the team. But he's a player though. Where he's been doing a great job of, I guess, helping with the development of those other wide receivers of the team. So they see value with him, and they're big into what wide receivers can do in regards to blocking, not just catching passes and running routes and catching, slats and all that stuff like that. They big into Saints put a big emphasis on blocking, your run blocking, your downfield blocking as a wide receiver. So they see value in that. He's not making a whole lot of money with the team, so why not bring him back? You know what I'm saying? And at this point in his career, man, he is who he is, man. If he does, to me, I'm not knocking Traquan Smith, but if he has a great day, he surprisingly have a nice day. He catch 5 or 6 passes, 85 yards and touchdown. Great if he does it. Help out in a different type of way. I'm cool with that as well. But I'm not really too mad about Traquan Smith, making this final 53-man roster, and because the receiving room is good. We got a really strong receiving room right now. We got Michael Thomas back. I haven't heard any setbacks on his injury, anything like that. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. We got some nice players on the practice squad. Shaq Davis, um, John Trey Kirkland. So I think we're in good shape right now in regards to that receiver position, the receiver room. Also, Kendre Miller. Apparently is dealing with a new injury, a hamstring injury, according to head coach Dennis Allen. The injury, I'm assuming it occurred in the last preseason game of the year against the Houston Texans, a hamstring injury. And Dennis Allen, paraphrasing here, but Dennis Allen stated that he's not sure what the prognosis is going to be going into next week. We'll find out once they put out the official injury report, and we'll see. We'll go from there. But that's a hope. Man, I just hope this ain't what we're gonna be getting with this guy, because I think he could be a really good football player, and he's showing his receiving ability with this team. That we didn't see that a lot at TCU, where they just pretty much used him as a bell cow running back. You know what I'm saying? And he could be a really good player for this team. It's just the problem might be that he's always going to be hurt. So that's going to be something to think about going to the future. As far as that running backs room is concerned. May have to keep it replenished with talent on the practice squad. Finding players. The free agency trail as well, but. Hopefully, man, this ain't nothing that's gonna linger into the season for 4 to 6 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Hamstrings could be tricky. You know what I'm saying? So let's see how this gonna play out. But you gotta act. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be between Ellis Merriweather and Tony Jones Jr. to pretty much step into that role where Miller was gonna be at. If he has to miss time, especially with this upcoming game against the Tennessee Titans, you don't have Alvin Kamara. If you lose Kendre Miller next week against the Titans, that leaves you with one running back. Now you can use Taysom Hill, but from what I heard is that Taysom Hill is still dealing with that core injury, so he may be going to the IR. He hasn't been back to practice yet, so we'll see how that's gonna play out. But I heard that now my bad, man. I think I heard today. Well, yeah, not today, but yesterday that he had came back to practice. I'm not sure. I'll double check on that, but you can't use Taysom. You can't use him in that role, or you can just bring up a guy like Ellis Merriweather or Tony Jones Jr. to that, and let them assume that role that Miller be leaving open. So we'll see. All right, and what else we got? Yeah. Other news, the article put out today by NFL.com that pretty much lists a player that is going to make their first ever Pro Bowl this season in 2023. I'm going to leave the link down below if y'all want to read and see. Read and find out what other players on that list, but for the Saints, you shouldn't be surprised by this. They put not Traquan Smith, Chris Olave to make his first ever Pro Bowl this season. I'm not surprised by that, man. Dude was showing flashes of a Pro Bowl receiver last season. He's expected by a lot of people to have a breakout season. By a lot of people. He's becoming a highly coveted fantasy player, a guy that you would want on your fantasy roster. Quickly emerging as one of the league's top young talents at the position. So looking forward to it, man. He's gonna have a huge year. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. Him and Michael Thomas, because I think if they're on the field for, I would say 9% of the season, I think it's going to be a really good football team. You know what I'm saying? So, not surprised by that. Not surprised by them giving it to Chris Olave. Now, you can You could have easily put. I mean, that's an argument for Jawan Johnson as well, because people are expecting big things out of him this season. And that's because Derek Carr has a history of working really well with tight ends in the passing game. We've seen that. So, looking forward to seeing how not Traquan Smith, man, my bad, how Chris Olave performs this season, man. Big things are coming from him in the New Orleans Saints. All right. All right, so that's you off right now, man. Keep it a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you feel. How do you feel about Kendre Miller's prospects going into this season, man? Are you concerned about his availability this season? He's a really talented player. Suffered another injury. He had an injury, was dealing with an injury, recovering from an injury he had in college, going into training camp. So we gotta see how this gonna play out. What else? What else here? If you didn't have Chris Olave as your first, as a Saints player that wasn't going to make that first Pro Bowl this season, what else? What a player that you had in mind? Also check out strike7sports.com/Saints for latest content on the One Saints organization. Have a blessed day. Peace. I'm out.